Johannna Neuman is on a journey more than 70 years in the making. A journey that started in Germany. How old were you when you left Hamburg?
8. I had just had my 8th birthday.
What do you remember of the leaving of Hamburg?
Very much, because this was such a dramatic experience.
Her life changed in the violent darkness of November 9th, 1938, during Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. The Nazis launched a vicious assault on Jewish communities, looting homes, destroying businesses, burning synagogues. It was an ominous preview of the horrors to come. Her father feared where his country was headed, so he began making preparations to flee. Young Johannna tagged along with him on a devastating errand in the basement of their apartment building.
He had all of this correspondence and photography, photographs and so on, of his youth and of his life, and he had made arrangements with the superintendent of the house that he could burn these things in the furnace. And, you know, like every piece that he burned was like a piece of his life.
A few months later, little Johannna and her parents were gone, leaving Germany for good. But on this day, Johannna's journey home won't take her back to Germany. Instead, she's returning to an unlikely safe haven and a reunion with her improbable family. Adip Pilku is anxiously waiting to greet the woman he hasn't seen in more than 60 years. You could say Adip is Johannna's cousin. At least that's what they told the Nazis.
That
was the cover story?
That was the cover story.
That you were her...
We're Germans from Germany, and we were her family.
There are a number of extraordinary examples of people who risked and sometimes lost their lives hiding Jews from the Nazis during World War II. But chances are you've never heard of one like this, because the Pilkus were in Albania, a 70% Muslim country in southeastern Europe.
The gem of this story is that Albania took in refugee Jews.
Deborah Dwork has written a book about Jewish refugees during World War II.
Europe, 1938, 39, 40, even 41. We see it as a totally closed universe. And Jews were looking for holes, for openings. People began to whisper, I hear if you get to Albania, you will be safe.
Safe because of a cornerstone of Albanian culture known as besa, the promise to treat strangers as if they were family and guard them with their lives.
It has to do with a certain sense of honor, an honor code that they take very seriously. So it's not simply to give someone something, a bed for a night, a hot meal. It is really to offer protection.
Like their neighbors, the Pilkus adhered closely to besa and to their Muslim beliefs that also emphasize the protection of others.
The role of Albanian culture and traditions and the religious influence of Islam came together.
Adip's mother was of German heritage. She married an Albanian, embracing both besa and Islam, especially after the Nazis occupied Albania. Adip proudly tells a story of his mother affecting a thick German accent to throw off the Nazis, growing suspicious of Johannna and her family. Not once, but twice.
Nana u revoltua dite shumë, u bë nervos si e tha, erdhët një herë tha, po të dytën herë ja bërit nuk I njohun. Pra ne është e ka që të vini më këtu, se dhe që këta në kam. është tërë të vini këtu ta. E ndëru në hikën.
Through all this, remember, Johannna and her parents were hiding in plain sight.
And here you are now coming in contact with German soldiers.
I certainly was, during their occupation, very much afraid that I wouldn't live the next day.
According to the International School for Holocaust Studies, over the course of the occupation, the Albanians did not turn over a single Jew to the Nazis. At the end of the war, there were more Jews living in Albania than before. It's an extraordinary record. So how is it that so few people know about it?
Nearly no one knows about this story
Why is it not known?
because of the shutters that went down on Albania so soon after 1945 and the draconian communist regime in that for the next half century. And by the time the shutters lifted, what happened half a century ago was not so urgent as people's everyday needs right then and there.
I had to find out what these people did and why they did it.
As seen in the upcoming documentary God's House, photographer Norman Gershman traveled to Albania to document surviving members of families that saved Jews during the Holocaust. Among them, Edip Pilku.
What is he holding here?
Is the plaque that honored his mother and father as righteous amongst nations, where Johannna and her family gave testimony that yes, this family saved our lives.
The Allies whisked 14-year-old Johannna and her parents out of Albania in September of 1945.
Shumë e rëndë për mu. Më hiku në më thonë një shok që unë i shamsu me atë.
Johannna says her own parents always wanted to make up for the way they parted with the Pilkus.
We were told that we cannot even go and say goodbye because there was danger that we might get arrested. It was much to my parents' really regret, terrible regret.
No chance to say thank you.
No chance to say thank you. My goodness.
Juta.
Finally, decades later, she had her chance. This was Johannna's journey.
62 years. When you saw him again, can you describe that reunion?
Well, in a way it was a little bit strange because I left a little boy and here was an old man. It was very emotional, there's no question about it.
After the war, Johannna's family settled safely in the United States. But in newly communist Albania, a very different fate awaited the Pilkus. They quickly went from being the protectors to the oppressed, and their life together as a family ended in tragedy when Edip Pilku's father was arrested and executed by the communist regime.
He was such a good human being. He was shot for what?
Johannna Neuman has spent years trying to honor the family that saved hers. Her deepest satisfaction came only recently in a conversation with Edip Pilku's daughter.
I got my reward. She said, I am so proud to know what my grandparents did. And that was really my main purpose. Because he was executed by the communists, so what do the grandchildren think of their grandparents?
One look at Edip Pilku's face tells the whole story.
I see a very modest son and very proud of his family in saving people who are desperate.
These people were courageous, they were righteous, and they were just wonderful people.